Please come to Ohio.
But it's a documentary. It's not a documentary, it's a movie. It's a nonfiction movie. We tried to do a new genre. And it confused the studios. It's still confusing them. They said, well, how do we know what's real and what isn't? And I said, when you see Santa Claus, that's not real. It's actually Ed Asner in a Santa suit. And everyone else is kind of popping out of my head. But everything that you see happens, every bit of that story, from my bypass to my just saying, I fucking quit. I can't stand it. That's all true. And including Badpenny laying out all the equipment for the jump on JP. And I really did, Jevin's wearing the hat. If you turn it around, there's an invisible hole where she sewed the camera in. That's how we got that shot. So we really do this stuff. And it's a shame. It's actually criminal that American reporters today are told nothing undercover, nothing impolite. If a billionaire says they won't talk to you, you say, okay, sir, thank you. And today, I was asked, in Indiana, the cops, Mike Pence's Indiana, the police raided a voter registration group that had registered 45,000 voters of color and took away their cell phones, their computers, to make sure that they can't register any more people, is one. And then they said that they were fraudulently, it was just like cross-check part 2. Hey, doll. YahNe Ndgo, I thought she had snuck away from us. No, you can't get away from us. No. Thank you. And so that in Indiana, they busted these people. It's the same thing as cross-check, saying that they're fraudulent voters, but we can't give you the list of voters because it's a criminal investigation. And no American reporter said, I'm going to get that list anyway. Well, this took 5 months of Badpenny and the rest of the group moving to get the list. By the way, this is the Leni Badpenny. She wanted to meet you. We'll get it. So, any questions? So we have Matthew Cooke, we have it. So, okay, so now, any couple words from anyone?
I just have a question for you. I think you guys can.
So why doesn't the American media report on cross-check?
You tell me, because I have to report from England. I literally have to report from exile, from BBC and The Guardian, and I can sneak in on articles, about, don't tell them I said this, a AARP rock magazine, I'm on Rolling Stone, they put out the article.
Right.
But you would think that would have gotten me some traction. And yes, I was on MSNBC, or MSDNC, as I call it, for a couple of shows, but of course, African American hosts. I'll be on Bev Smith, I'll be on many of the African American host programs. And, but I asked MSNBC, I said, aren't any pale faces interested in this story? And, this is a problem that we have, and I appreciate your coming here. And by the way, how many people are here who are supporters of KPFK, members? Fantastic. Me too. This will be a benefit for KPFK tonight. And so I don't know. And there is one pale face who did have me on the air, Matthew Cooke, when he was sitting in for Larry King. So thank you. Could you applaud this man for his courage?
Just a quick comment about that. I mean, they didn't ask me to pick who the guests were going to be. So I turned down the guests that they suggested and said that Greg should be on the show. And so they let him be on the show. But I just want to make one quick comment because I really have no business being up here. This is an incredible film. Thank you so much for doing it.
Yeah.
sitting in the audience and I'm thinking about how many people are actually here, and I think it's a lot. We're at a time where we're all super busy, where we get our information on the internet or from other sources that aren't that don't involve us all driving through traffic and coming together as a community to support finding out some information that might make us feel upset. I'm reminded of that photo of all those people raising their hands in a Nazi salute, and one guy isn't. Everybody in here are the people who are not giving that Nazi salute. That's how important this is. So whether we write a letter, an email to CNN, to every major news organization and say, I'm not watching you anymore unless you start doing some real reporting. When we're at the gym, when we're at whatever location, the airport, that plays this propaganda that's as bad as it ever was, 24/7, and we say, hey, turn that shit off. Whatever action that we're all gonna take, sharing in social media, the incredible information that Greg has done for us as one of the few investigative reporters in the country, knowing that the majority of young people, the majority of people who get their information on social media, the next generation that's coming up, voted overwhelmingly for Sanders, for example, in comparison to Trump and Hillary combined. That generation, those people are going to take that information. We can do something. Absolutely. But it takes every single one of us to dig in and ask ourselves, what is that action that I'm going to take based on the information that I'm hearing tonight? Because together, each one of us is a little drop. But eventually, that creates a river. And that's the only thing that's ever going to make a change, is if we all stand up and say, I'm not going to do nothing, knowing that my brothers and sisters are suffering as a result of this absolutely horrendous, and kudos to you for making it funny, as well. It's just a terrific job, and I'm gonna do some soul searching about what I'm gonna do to make sure to support getting this information out there. So just thank you so much.
I'll pass this on. I should say that just before he died on the ice, and I was lucky to have filmed him. And by the way, that's completely true. We really did get a message from the Chief of Intelligence of the Free Republic of the Arctic, Harry Lord, who also just passed away, unfortunately. Because remember, the Eskimos, and don't call them Inuits, that's their language. The Eskimos don't recognize the conquest by America. And Etok, as their leader, he's one of the tough characters, you could tell, but he did demand that I come up there. And because it was him and his reputation, I couldn't say no. I just had to find out if I could land in October above the Arctic Circle, but we really went there. But before Etok passed away, he did say those words, "This is destruction in progress, and you are witness to this destruction. So what are you going to do about it?" And I can give you a couple things that you are going to do about it. You're going to they told you to turn off your phones, turn on your phones, and go to gregpalast.com and sign up for the further information on what's going down. Because it's not a movie, it's a movement. So I want you to stay tuned to what we're doing. There's also a petition by the Congressional Black Caucus calling for, and by the way, just endorsed by Jill Stein and Najamu Baraka, saying that we want the Justice Department not just to investigate, cross-check, but as Alcee Hastings, the African-American congressman, says, I'm a former federal judge, and I know criminal conspiracy when I see it. I want these people arrested, okay? What he did was he took a copy of my Rolling Stone article and the film and his petition and put them in the hands of the U.S. Attorney General, saying, don't tell me you didn't get it because I'm putting it in your hands. So hopefully we'll get, but that means that you have to act on it. Now, I should add, when you said it could flip on you, and you talked about indigenous people,
it can't do this to you unless they take away your vote, because there are more of us than them, okay? Dig the arithmetic, the 1% versus the 99%. You don't have to be a math whiz to figure out what's going on. They have to take away your vote. So for example, if you saw those people when I said, hello, Father, the people that lost their vote, that entire church lost its vote. Those were a few Hispanics, but mostly those were Pueblo natives of New Mexico who had lost their vote because they were given provisional ballots and told they had to put them in envelopes that they were given, and then the local official said, oh, used the wrong envelope. Yes, the envelopes we gave you, but hey, vote's out the window. They all lost their vote, okay? And so my comic book, and we're having a new one coming out in another week or so, the comic book I wrote with Ted Rall, and some of that comic book is inside the new Best Democracy, is in the Pueblo Museum in New Mexico. Because how do people talk about the native vote? And if there's any group that gets screwed, they really get it. And by the way, that trick was pulled by the Democratic Party. By the Democratic Party. Because in the end, voters of color are the most progressive voting group in America. And when you talk about it flipping around, I saw in California, what I said is that I saw in California in the primary that young, new Bernie voters were being treated as if they were black. And I was viciously attacked in the Washington Post over that. Because for the first time, white folk got provisional ballots, which is almost never heard of. It just doesn't happen. I went to Palm Springs. There was 100 people in our audience, book fair, 2 African Americans. I said, has anyone ever been given a provisional ballot? The 2 black men said, raised their hand, no white people. So now, you just got treated as if you're black, okay? You're learning. Because if they test it on vulnerable communities, they're going to test it, then they're going to bring it home. And so this has to stop.
It happened to me.
There you go.
It did. And by the way, I have to echo Matthew, and what an incredible offering, what an incredible work to bring us this information. And I'm just so grateful to know you. And I actually had the pleasure of working with you in that time, and working with Matthew, and working with Eileen Proctor, and working with Eden McFadden, and so many of the other activists that came together on, because we suspected something might happen. 160,000 people stripped from the rolls in Brooklyn happens to be Bernie land, just so, for instance. I went to, and I was canvassing in Arizona, and they told us that there were people that were 5 hours long, the lines for people to get to vote, and we were there till midnight playing songs and bringing water, people that were being disenfranchised. And then it was only because of the work that we were doing with election justice, and that I knew not to take a provisional ballot. That's the only reason I knew. And when I showed up, I specifically registered vote at the polls, and when I showed up, it said vote by mail. And I had to go down to Norwalk, and it took me 5 hours. It took me 5 hours to cast my vote. And that was only because I knew, and I was determined. But how many people, I interviewed people in Arizona who were minimum wage workers, who could not, they had already also called the election by 4 p.m. This is media malpractice. So thank God we have a progressive media. Thank God we have an independent media. And thank God we have people that are willing to tell the truth. But guess what? For the first time in human history, we can communicate with everyone with one message. For the first time, we have access to unlimited information. We're not relying upon mainstream media. And for the first time in my lifetime, I saw the grassroots come together. And we came that close in California. And we know why. But for the first time, the grassroots came together, and the machine blinked. And that's because of all of you. That's because of all of us. We came together, and that is unprecedented, and it's just beginning. I agree with it, and being with YahNe, This campaign, Bernie Sanders brought together the most extraordinary, committed, powerful, brilliant activists I've ever seen in my lifetime. And guess what? We all like each other.
You stumped me. I mean, what do we do? Well, you heard Hank Sanders, which is you got to keep walking over the bridge. I mean, the man walked with King. He became the state senator, played by the rules, and he gets his name wiped off the voter rolls. So he says to walk across the bridge again. We're not done. I mean, that may be corny. It may not be very specific, but we don't stop. We make, like people say, oh, I'm not going to vote. They're going to steal my vote. Make them steal your vote. Expose them. If we can't get on MSNBC or DN or anything, you have to just say, we'll make our own media. We'll make our own noise. I mean, I have to say that, well, there's empty seats here, but there's more people in here than all the other screens put together. We, in New York, on our premiere week, in terms of seats per screen, we beat the hell out of Magnificent Seven. It freaked out the industry, like, who the hell is best democracy?
Want to say something, Greg?
I'd love to say something.
I think the movie is terrific. I'm so honored to be here with you. What you've done since the election in 2000, when I really became aware of your incredible work. We did a movie called Recount with Kevin Spacey and what have you. I played David Boies. And we used some of the documents that I think you brought to light with the Willie G. Whiting and Willie B. Whiting. Only Willie G. Whiting, who got stricken from the roles, was a minister, but they just decided he was a felon, and that kind of stuff. So I'm honored to be here with you, and also please show up on October 23rd. As you
And
said,
Ed is speaking. I can't believe I forgot to say that Ed
Oh,
will
don't
actually.
worry. You don't need to.
Ed is actually going to be here.
I might say a few words then, and I'm saying a few words now in support of this film and in support of Josh Fox's film on the 23rd. I'll be there as well. And now I must bid you adieu.